Main rules. There's basically these phases. It talks about, there's a small introduction. There's a section about units. There's a section about the land phase combats, the naval phase, the economy phase, and the strategy phase. These, each turn of the game has these four phases: land, naval, economy, strategy. Instead of doing like a tutorial or I play a whole turn, I'm going to go through the actual rule book because a lot of you have asked me about that. So I'm just going to go through the actual rules one by one and try to use some examples here to make it more clear. There's also a quick reference book. Now, these have rules that are not in the main book because I'm not a big believer in duplicating rules in two books because it can get confusing. So a lot of the rules that the main rule book talks about are here. There is a sequence of play, of course, that makes it easier to follow the each turn. But then all the things about modifiers, which you can see here as well, and the map on the board, are explained here. The order of damage is explained. How to use the special die. Things that are not used too often but are here in case you need to use them. Special air operations. What the commander cards do. What the combat cards do. And what are the combat qualities for commanders and so forth. So that's all explained here in the quick reference. It's a shorter book, and so it's not a lot of rules. It's a lot of it is explained very, very clearly, but it's perfectly doable. The game is very busy, but it's not hard to play. It just has a lot of content. But what I always say is that don't stress, because if you were to get half of the rules wrong, if you were to not pay too much attention, you could still play the game very well. Most of the rules, half of the rules are there to put meat on the bones of the historic context here. So each game turn represents 3 months of the war. The first turn starts in July, September 1936. And, a typical game will get you about 8 turns, 12 turns. But you can go, you can go more. You can go until turn 15, but usually that doesn't happen too often. By that time, somebody wins or loses. Each turn might take you an hour and a half, because this is very detailed, but it is not complex. Then there's a land phase. There is a naval phase. There is an economy phase. And then there is a strategy phase that encompasses other important decisions. The calendar can only take as many units as it has capacity for. For example, here, this tank unit goes here. These army reinforcement units, there's 2 allowed here. So there's 2. You just follow this guideline. It's pretty straightforward. If there is a free box there for pieces, you can put one of them there. See, there's artillery goes here. These ones are all free, so you can load these up as necessary. To explain the map, there are cities, and then there's transit points. Cities are the large ones, and the transit points are the little ones. You can stack 3 units in any of these, whether they're cities or transit points. They can take up to a stack of 3 units, as you can see here. 3 in Guadalajara, and the commander. If a blue city is taken by the red forces, then the reds will put that there to mark it. It makes it easier to keep track. Each city has, some cities have a defense value. Valencia has 1. Teruel has 3, for example. That's the defense value of the city that factors into the combats. Teruel is up in the mountains and it was well protected, so it's easier. It's easier to defend. This one is harder to defend, and then, for example, Castellón has 2, and so on. Gibraltar, I think, is the only one that is. It's almost like the British occupy it, so it's got a factor of 9. Nobody wants to attack it. There's a hydroelectric plant here. That's the only case in the game. It's very important. It has no defense value, but it has 20 points. The points of the city, for example, 3. Zaragoza has 3. Burgos has 1. If you look at Bilbao, it has 10. Barcelona, extremely important, has 20. These are the industrial value of the cities. And as you take them, if you know, if you were to, if the Blues were to take Barcelona, they would jump 20 points. There's two types of mine: copper, zinc, mercury. Copper and mercury, and zinc and pyrites. This is the zinc and pyrites. This is the copper and mercury, and these have economic points. International borders. The border crossings are marked here. These are for the nationalists, the blues, and these ones would be for the Republicans, because France here is on the side of the Republic, Portugal is on the side of the nationalists, and if a red city, if the roads of that city leads to the border of an enemy state, then it's closed. These ones are open because there's a blue city leading to it, as you can see, and so they are open. Portugal is open to the nationalist zone. So the dice sets are used for many actions. We have one color for each side, obviously. You add up all the points in any given battle. 2, 3, for example, here we have 6 points. And whatever forces you have, plus the combat factors, you pick as many dice points as you can, equivalent to fight the other, to fight your enemy. And these go up to 3. So this is the 3 and the 2. And then we have these yellow attrition die. It determines the fraction. So when you roll the points. You roll it simultaneously with this, and you only use the points indicated. So if you roll a 12 and this lands, it's half. So you use 6, and so forth. This green die is for land and naval battles. It's explained later what it does. It's for combat outcomes. There's 52 cards. You could use them to play regular card games, of course. And I have separate videos indicating what they do. But there's basically 3 kinds of cards: country cards, commander cards, and combat cards. The resource box is used mostly to pay for deployment of forces. So every time you have to deploy forces from the calendar, you have to have resources there to pay for them. There's the supply cubes that are worth 10 points each. And you can fill this with supply cubes that you purchase and then you deploy. Let's just say you have 35 points. You would have 3 of these cubes. That there's 30 points right there, right? But it's 35. Where's the other ones? Well, the other ones are here. You would have 30 as cubes on the map plus 5. That's what they're for. There's 4 ways to get resource points. You get the resource points and you fill up your resource pool there. One in this war is principally through foreign aid. You can also trade off some mining rights. For example, that would give you 30 points. You trade it off. That means you get 3 cubes and you put them there. Whoever owns the mines are owned by the power closest, the city closest to them. So this is still a red city. You can also trade golds. Once it's gone forever. So be very careful. But that's worth a lot of points. 50 per cube there. And lastly, you have credit. This credit will give you points, like 75 points right there, 50 for the reds. As the war progresses, there's a depreciation factor there, and that affects how much money you can earn. Basically, war is destructive, and so the longer it goes on, the more the depreciation faction will affect the income. Foreign aid, like I said, is the main source of income. Receive extra points by playing certain country cards. That's explained in the cards video. Like, for example, here, there's an Italian country card here. That will give you extra points. You will also receive foreign aid through the events, and that's your main source. Spain itself, with its industry and agriculture, will give you a little bit of money, but really not enough.